Hi, Frontend Navigator. In our last lesson, we look at the fundamentals of CSS and how to use CSS to beautify your website. In this lesson, we are going to take a look at CSS positioning. For example, have you ever wondered how the YouTube navbar or their sidebar is always fixed? Even when you are scrolling, it's always at its position and do not move. So we are going to look at how this is achieved with CSS. So it's coming up. I've just created an HTML and a CSS file. So this is the HTML file. There's nothing really going on here. So I've just linked the CSS file to the HTML file. And if I open my CSS file, there's nothing. So I'm going to open the HTML file, then I'm going to collapse this. First, we are going to discuss the relative and absolute positioning. We normally use the relative and the absolute position together. So what do I mean? I can have a div, then I can call it relative. And this should be your parent element or your parent div. And inside, you can have a content, and the content can be absolute. So I can have a content over here, and that content should be absolute. So now what I'm going to do is open my live server. So I'll click on go live. So now I have it open over here, and there's nothing to show. So I can simply open, then I can collapse this. Now we have a relative, then we have a div inside the relative, and the class is content. So I'm going to click and go to my CSS. So first, the relative is the container. So we are going to target the relative. So I'll target my relative, the relative, and inside of my relative, I can give it something like a width. Oh my god, I cannot spell width. So width. Then the width can be maybe 300 pixels. Can I spell 300 pixels? So 300 pixels. And we can have a height. So a height. So let's make it something like maybe 600 pixels. So twice the width. And I can give it something like a background color. So a background color of, I can go with this lighter color. So F2, F2, F2. So I think this color is great. So now if I open, then we'll have this over here. So I think the height is too much. Let's reduce it. So I can make it something like maybe 400, and I can reduce the width to 200. So now hopefully if I come, then I refresh, I'll have this over here. So let's try to bring it to the center. So I can bring it to the center by using the margin. So I can have a margin. Then I can have maybe something like 40 pixels to the top and the bottom. Then I can use the auto to bring it to the center. So now hopefully if I come, I'll have it to the center, and we'll have a 40 pixels over here and a 40 pixels at the bottom. So this is the container. So now I can give it a border radius. I don't know if we discussed border radius. So this is just a radius at the edges. So if I write something like maybe 20 pixels, so 20 pixels is okay. So hopefully if I come, we'll have this round edges over here. So I think now it's nicer. So what I can go to do is simply come and grab the content. So I can come over here. Before we grab the content, first we'll have to change the position to relative. So position relative. So now hopefully if I come, nothing is really happening over here, but I can choose to move this around. So I can write something like maybe, I can write something like left. So if I say left, maybe if I add 100 pixels to the left, and then if I come, it will move to the left 100 pixels. And I can say, okay, to the top, just move it maybe 200 pixels. And if you come, it will nudge it down 300 pixels to the top. Normally, we use the relative with an absolute div or an absolute element. So what do I mean? So if we grab the content, and then first let's set the position to absolute. And then now I can set the background color to, let's just make it white. So white color is FFFF, 6 of them, or you can just leave it 3. So this is okay, or you can make it 6. So now hopefully if I come, I can have a width of something like maybe 80 pixels. Is 80 okay? So let's just make it something like 100 pixels, and a height, so sorry, can I spell height? So I think there's height. So a height of 40 pixels. So I can give it a border radius, so a border radius of maybe something like maybe 10 pixels. And hopefully if I come, we'll have this white over here. So let me decrease it. So I can give it a width. Let's decrease the width to something like 80 pixels and the height to 50 pixels. So I think now it's okay. Or let's decrease the height small again. So let's just make it 30 pixels. So that we'll have this small white over here. So I have it over here. So if you check, it's nudge on top over here. So it is just attached to our container. So to have a space there, we can give the container a pattern so that we'll have a space between the container and its element, just like we did in the box model. So if I give it a pattern of maybe 10 pixels, so hopefully if we come, we'll have a pattern of 10 pixels or a space over here. So now with the absolute, I can simply come. So we have defined the absolute position. So I can come and then be moving it around the relative over here. So when you are using an absolute element, you have a relative container, then you can move your absolute element inside of the container. So what do I mean? I can choose to bring it to the bottom or to just move it around over here. So for example, if I come, then I write something like bottom, then something like maybe 2, so something like 0 pixels or just 0. So now if I come to send it to the bottom over here, and then it will give it a 0 pixels. So if I write something like maybe 10 pixels, then I can come, then we'll have it over here 10 pixels. So mostly if you go online, you normally see people with, they'll like put an image over here, then they'll have a text to the bottom, or they can have a text over here, or they can have a profile image with names. So this is how it is achieved. We have a relative, then we have an absolute content over here, then we can be moving it around. So I can send it to the right, so right, so right of 10 pixels. So now hopefully if I come, it will bring it to the bottom right over here, because I've specified bottom and I've specified right. So I can also send it to the top right too. If I have top, so top 10 pixels and right 10 pixels. So we'll have it to the top over here. So now it has been sent to the top. So this is how we use the absolute with the relative. You have a relative container, then you have an absolute item you can be moving around of your relative container. So next up, we are going to discuss the fixed. So just like the name suggests, fixed means it doesn't move. So for example, if I come, I can remove everything, then I can remove everything over here. Then we can go inside here and create a div, then we can call it something like fixed, then I'll press enter. So we have a div over here with a class of fixed. So what I can go to do is simply grab the fixed class, then I can give it something like a background color. So a background color of maybe, let's just go with a lighter color. So then I have my outshine, so F2 over here. And then I can give something like a height, so a height of 200 pixels and a width of 250, so 250, can I say 250, so 250 pixels. So I can give it a border radius, so border radius of 20 pixels over here. And now hopefully if we come, we'll have this over here. So we have this. So what we can do is simply go over here, then we can grab our body. So let's grab the body first. Then we can give it a pattern, so a pattern of maybe 20 pixels, so that we'll have a space between the body and our content. So we have a pattern of 20 pixels over here. We have the box over here. So normally if you visit any website, you can have a fixed, maybe a fixed notification over here. So it's normally achieved with this fixed value. So you can have a fixed navbar or a fixed sidebar or a fixed notification panel over here. So this is achieved with the fixed position. So what do I mean? So I can go, then I can come inside here, I can have a content. So content, can I say content? So content, oh my god. So content, and inside of this content, you can have a paragraph. Then you can write lorem to have a lorem text. Then you can have another lorem text over here. So what I want to do with this is to make it scrollable first. So I can make it scrollable. So let me paste it. Let me paste it over here and let me paste it. Just paste it a couple of times. And if you come, then you scroll, then you have this scrollable over here. So now we can scroll. So next, what we want to do is simply grab the content. So I can grab the content. And now if I come, so now I can have my content, and the content I can give you something like a width. So a width of 600 pixels. So now hopefully if I come, I'll squeeze the width. So I've squeezed the width over here. So now we can target our fixed element. So this is the fixed element. I can choose to make the position fixed. So position should be fixed. So first position should be fixed. So once it's fixed, then if you try to scroll, so now if you are scrolling, but this should be fixed. So let me decrease this and then we can scroll. So let me decrease it. So now if you scroll and if you check, this over here will be fixed over there. And if you check, the content over here is overflowing because we have set the width to 600 pixels. So I can, instead of 600 pixels for the width, so sorry, I can have a max width. So max width of 600 pixels. Then I can say something like width of 100%. So now if we come, it will not be scrolling again. So we'll remove the horizontal scroll over here and then we'll have our nicer content. So what I've just did here, so let me bring this screen and let me have this. What I've did is I've grabbed the content and I said the maximum width should be 600 pixels. So that means it should not exceed 600 pixels and it should be a width of 100%. So the width by default should be 100%, but it should not exceed 600 pixels. So even if the person is on small screen, but will have this nicer look. So now I can close this, then we can have this over here. So let me expand this, and now if you check, we have this. So we can be moving this around. So what do I mean? So I can come to my fix, then just like we did for the absolute, you can say something like bottom. So bottom of maybe something like 10 pixels. So now hopefully if we come, we'll have this to the bottom over here and then it's fixed. So now if you are scrolling, but it will still remain the position. I can bring it to the bottom right, so I can have something like right of 10 pixels. So now hopefully if we come, it will be shift to the right side over here. So we can be moving this around, so I can send it to the top right, so top right. So by default it will be over here, and then you can send it to any part over here. So to bring it to the top right over here, so I can just be moving this around. So I can choose to make it a nav bar. So how do we make it a nav bar? So for example, if I come, so we can leave it at the top right, there's nothing wrong with it. And here, instead of the width being this, I can say that okay, the width should be 100% and the height should be something like 70 pixels. So now hopefully if we come, we'll have a nav bar on top over here. Now if we check, we have our nav bar at the top. But if we check the nav bar, there's a space here and it has been shifted to here. It's because of the right over here. So the right should be 0 so that it will fit everything. So if the right is 0, it will stretch from here to here. And if we check, the nav bar is fixed. So now let me increase our paragraphs. So I'll add another paragraph. So sorry. So I'll copy this paragraph. Then I can paste it over here. Let me paste it 3 times. And now hopefully if I come, I can scroll. So now if I'm scrolling, but the nav bar is fixed at the top over here and it does not move. So I can choose to make it a sidebar. For example, I can come. So this is the fix, right? So I can say that okay, for the height should be 100 viewport height. So 100 viewport height means you should fit the height of the person's screen. So now if you check, it has expanded to the screen. So I can change the width to something like 200 pixels. So 200 pixels. So now hopefully if we come, we'll have a sidebar over here. It is attached to the right side. I can bring it to the left by specifying left. So now it should be at the left side over here. But if we check the top, we have 10 pixels because we have specified 10 pixels at the top. So I can make it 0 so that it will just stretch and cover every place. So now it will stretch and cover every place. We have our sidebar over here. Now don't worry about beautiful components. So I'm just trying to let you understand the basics. So once you understand the basics, we'll start creating beautiful nav bars and sidebars and a lot of components. So now your goal is to understand everything and how to use every property and the values.